All right. Let's go. Let's go. Welcome to the Sanders Report, and it's time for Candace Owens versus Turning Point. Finally, after several months of Candace Owens going after the members of Turning Point has responded. A guy, I believe by the name of Blake Neff, released a video basically challenging a lot of the claims that Candace Owens has made and said that they're ready to have some dialogue, a debate, like a challenge basically, to shut down all of the Candace Owens quote unquote conspiracies. And I'll tell you right now, I never really listened to Candace Owens until Charlie Kirk got assassinated. And it was Charlie Kirk's assassination that kind of led me to start looking into Charlie Kirk more. I'd always seen little shorts, clips, videos of him on YouTube, but never really followed him, never a big supporter. I appreciated a lot of the things that he stood for, advocated for capitalism in his form. Didn't really agree with a lot of his foreign policy. I agreed with him on his stance against a lot of the woke stuff going on. But once he was assassinated, that really, that should have got everybody to wake up. That here's a guy just wanting to have a discussion. He gets killed, assassinated publicly. And then his friend Candace Owens starts questioning the narrative, which I think is reasonable given some of the weird stuff going on. The video of the guy jumping off the roof. Where's the rifle? Okay, said he got shot with a 30-06, but it stopped in his neck and didn't blow out the other side, which I have found some stuff on YouTube where it talked about they actually made like some certain types of 30-06 rounds that shot a smaller bullet. That's the best possibility that I've been able to find. It's basically like the larger casing for the 30-06 was used to shoot a smaller round for hunting. I don't know, but it's still weird. Okay, so it's valid questions. The transgender guy's boyfriend, Tyler Robertson, he wrote a letter to his girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, and put it under the keyboard. But then in his long, drawn-out text message that was really weird said, I hope to take this secret to my grave, but yet at the same time left a message under the keyboard. Lots of weird stuff. The things that Candace has been saying that I can't get on board with is she's attacking the one guy for making the selfie video immediately after Charlie was shot. And here's the thing. People react differently in circumstances like that. Some people take action. Some people drop to the ground. Some people run away. It's complicated, and it's hard to say based on this person's reaction because, people just don't know how they're going to react in circumstances like that until they're actually in the situation. That's why some people are surprised at how their reaction can be so heroic, and some people can behave so cowardly, or some people can run away and make a selfie video, which is kind of a reflection of how narcissistic our society is. This guy's reaction to his friend getting assassinated is, I better run and make a selfie video real quick and say, Charlie's dead. That's not really any type of evidence. It's just strange behavior. But, when you think about how many times you see horrible events going on or horrible crimes and people don't intervene to stop it or do anything like that. They get out their phones and start video recording it. I think that's just where we're at. So I don't agree with a lot of her questioning on that. But again, Candace has always kind of said, I'm speculating here. Why is everyone not out kind of speculating, wondering what's going on? Because the official narrative is weird. And if you are just going along with the official narrative, then you probably don't question anything else. And you probably watch Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, and you just believe whatever story that they tell you because you're so propagandized that you don't even start to try to think for yourself. But recently, Candace has been talking about some of these Egyptian planes flying in and out of France, which is weird. People should watch our show. It's weird. I've been following it. It's interesting. And like I said, I don't get into all the true crime drama stuff of it, like who's upset and who's not. But some of the stuff she's pointing out is weird. Mikey McCoy's father, Rob McCoy's tied in with this Calvary Church. That's weird. They're involved in a lot of scandals. And I mean, that goes down all sorts of rabbit holes. You know, and pastors being involved with this goes way back. You know, the CIA using clergy, the CIA and the FBI advising pastors and priests to kind of control their flocks. They've been advised to use, different verses from Romans and some of the gospel, like render unto Caesar what is Caesar, and I can't quote the exact passage, but basically it's saying like, hey, like God put the government, and I think this is the Romans verse, but God put the government into place so you accept government because that's God put them there to control you, and don't worry about it because, God's kingdom is going to be after this earth, whatever. But there's history of the government using religion to kind of get people to acquiesce to government demands. And she pointed out the lies about Charlie changing his stance on Israel. She brought the text messages. It shows that Charlie said, I can't toe this line anymore. Charlie was on the front lines of that side of the argument coming down to college campuses where a lot of the youth is not on the side of Israel. Charlie's getting questions all the time about Israel and Palestine, and he's having to defend what's going on in Israel. And a lot of the younger people that are seeing this stuff, they're like, hey, like we're not really cool with what's going on in Israel and Palestine. Like they're kind of committing a genocide on these people, and it's hard to justify that. And Charlie's kind of pushing back, saying like, hey guys, you guys got me out here as your spokesman, and you're not really helping me out. You're making it really hard to defend these things. And recently, Charlie Kirk's head of security, this guy Brian Harpole, went on the Sean Ryan show. And I thought it was really weird because Brian Harpole talks about how they weren't able to use drones. Well, first of all, Brian Harpole used these texts to show where they were communicating with UVU security. And the UVU security, they said something along the lines of, it was like, we would like to have roof access, or have one of our guys get onto the roof to make sure that there's nobody up there, basically asking questions about the security on the roof. And the UVU security guy texts back, I got you. And that was it. There was no follow-up, no clarification. What does I got you mean? It's like, it seems like if you're a big security firm or a big security team, you'd say like, okay, you got me how? Like you're going to get my guys up there, or you're going to cover that sector, or how is the roof security going to be handled? But he basically used that as an out, as saying like, well, the guy from UVU security said they got it, which, I'm not special forces. I'm not a paid security guy, but I would imagine that people that should have that kind of training, you would be looking at campus police as kind of like your JV. Like I'd be thinking, if I was like a top flight security of the world, and I'm being paid big money to guard important people, I would think of myself as varsity. Like, hey man, like I'm the real deal. I wouldn't be taking a whole lot of what like a campus security guard or campus police department's telling me. Like I'm going to be like, that's the JV guys. But here, this is like the kind of stuff that Candace brings up and then people dismiss it. But listen to what he talks about with the drones and why they don't have the drones up.
Come in and we start looking at things immediately.
Oh, got to change my output there.
Where are our risks? What's our risk assessment when we come in? That's why we get there. That's why we start doing the advance so early. We walk it, we build it ourselves. And so initially, I spent thousands of dollars on drones last year and got the guy's license. But if the area lies in the Provo, Utah airspace, I can't fly it. That's a 107B. We can't break the rules, right? And then you had secondary restrictions, probably due to heavy foot traffic for the school. But I can't go in and break the rules. There's laws for a reason. And so
Okay, so he's telling Sean Ryan why he couldn't have his drones up. He paid thousands of dollars for drones, and he's got guys that can fly the drones, but man, there's restrictions, and I can't just come in there and break the rules. Well, here's Frank Turek, and he's going to talk about going to the event with Charlie Kirk that day.
He knew that there was hostility. I mean, he got death threats all the time, and he knew there was hostility out there. And in fact, when we were driving into that event, this is the first event I've gone to a college campus with Charlie. He said, Frank, if you can come help me the first couple of days, could you stay an extra day and come with me to the first event? I said, of course. So we're driving in, Megan, and his team has drones up looking at the crowd from above, and they text him some video. And there's thousands of people there an hour before the start. And I said, Charlie, I don't like this place. There's too many buildings. And but he shrugged it off. He knew there were thousands of people there. And he knew in order to minister to people, you can't completely isolate yourself.
So as they're approaching, they're watching the drone. Charlie's team had drones up, and they're watching the footage as they pull in, and they see the thousands of people. And, this guy says, I don't like this. I don't like the buildings. So who's lying? This guy who says they're watching drone footage as they roll in, or Brian Harpole who says they weren't allowed to have drones up that day? I mean, it's got to be one or the other, right? The security guy's saying they weren't allowed to have drones up. This guy's saying we were watching drone footage as we rode in. So kind of have a discrepancy there. And these are the kind of things, if you haven't been watching Candace's show, she points out. And instead of addressing these things, people have just been attacking her, saying she's crazy. And, I'm not saying that Candace Owens is right about everything. I'm just saying that when you don't address the questions, you just try to ignore it or dismiss it, it looks bad. Like, Turning Point, to their credit, was trying to host a debate between Mark Levin and Tucker Carlson, and Mark Levin won't do it. Tucker Carlson sent him a text. Mark Levin read the text, and Tucker, it seemed very cordial. Tucker was like, hey, Turning Point's offering to have a debate with us in December, and I'd like to do it and get our ideas out there. And Mark Levin's response was, I'm not going to debate Tucker. That's, I'm not going to basically lower myself to his level. And see, that's the problem. If you're so sure that you're right, and your ideas are going to be like, your ideas are basically going to beat Tucker Carlson, then go out and debate him. That's the free market of ideas, right? That's the whole point of freedom of speech, and engaging in dialogue. Change people's minds, use facts, present evidence. Don't just duck away and attack people's character or make up lies or dismiss them. If it can be easily dismissed, then easily dismiss it. Why is Turning Point all of a sudden deciding to respond to Candace now? That's the question. Like, is Turning Point, were they just letting Candace put enough bad information out there so they can come and basically destroy her in a debate? Is Turning Point doing it now because they're losing donors and they're losing support because their response so far seems fake? You know, I mean, you got Josh Hammer that was out there, and I don't even know if Josh Hammer's actually involved in Turning Point, but I do know that he's like a big, pro-Israel guy that's involved with that movement. And, he got crushed by Dave Smith in those debates, which if anybody wants to actually listen to somebody that's really a good voice and advocate for liberty and freedom of speech, check out Dave Smith's podcast, Part of the Problem. I wasn't very familiar with Dave Smith until the last couple of years, and he's, he really does a great job of kind of expressing, real views about free markets, freedom of speech. So I just recommend anybody check out Dave Smith. But Dave Smith totally destroyed Josh Hammer in 2 debates, one of them set up by Charlie. And then Josh Hammer's out shortly after the Charlie Kirk assassination talking about, oh, well, one of the last things Charlie talked about was my book and how great my book is and how he used his book to really help shape his arguments for the pro-Israel cause. And people are attacking Candace, saying that she's just trying to profit from the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Turning Point, who had this big memorial, which was like almost like a WWE event. They had like pyrotechnics and music, and they were selling merch. That, like, how about the hypocrisy there? And I'm not mad at them. I mean, I get it. Like, we're always trying to figure out a way to, take advantage of a situation, right? Like, I mean, hey, our leader just got assassinated, but at least if we can, try to turn this around, gain some support, gain some donations, sell some T-shirts, just like Turk's wearing in this video. He's got that freedom shirt on, the same shirt Charlie was wearing when he got shot. I have not liked the Turning Point reaction so far. I have liked the stuff Candace has been putting out. I would say that I think she's definitely obsessed with it. She's hyper-focused. She's got a little bit of tunnel vision going on, which is understandable because, they were friends. They were very close. I mean, Candace is showing all sorts of photos of them together, videos of them together, and she's telling you, I do not care about anything else. I want the truth about Charlie Kirk. So you take people at their word. I don't know Candace Owens. Candace Owens could just be a complete grifter trying to make a bunch of money off this. I don't know, but I'm going to look at all the information out there. I'm going to look at what everybody's putting out. Like I always say, I stole it from Chris Duane, but listen to all, follow none. And that's exactly what I'm going to keep doing.